Oh, that toppled. Wait, I got this. Wait.
Oh, here, I got you.
Oh.
Oh,
there we go.
No, son of a gun.
It's Jenga.
Yeah.
Use my wine glass.
There we go.
There we go. Awesome. Hey everyone, Justin here from Forza Zero. I'm here today with the man himself, Mr. Jeff FInnigan.
Hey guys.
Today we are going to be talking about the original Valhalla cluster, or simply Valhalla. I call it OG Valhalla or Valhalla to differentiate it from new Valhalla, so not confuse newer players. For those of you newer players out there, you might not be aware, Valhalla was the first cluster. I consider it the 0th cluster that came out. It wasn't released worldwide yet, it was before Grimm and all that. It was only released in certain spots, in certain countries and stuff. And it's quite an interesting set. I actually just bought these last week on eBay. The decks are elsewhere, but I got the starters here. And it's almost like a beta test of Force of Will, I think of it as, best way to describe it. So Jeff has quite an extensive bit of knowledge regarding this cluster, especially he's designed a supposed remake of it and all that good stuff. So we'll start with you, Jeff. So.
Yeah. How can I help you? What do you want to know?
Okay. Well, I guess we'll start with kind of the history of the era at this time.
Yeah. So, all right. I don't know how much of this is public knowledge. So, AG had originally designed this whole set with a different design team at the time, and then that design team actually took off, and so he had this, but he was left with no design team. And so these starter decks actually were, of course, designed before the original Valhalla even. So in Japan, I don't think they ever came outside of Japan, but I have some back home. There are even more original starters. Like, these are the starter decks that sold. There's even pre that Japanese demo decks that they reuse art and some stuff, and it's all from the first set and then some pre-first stuff. And so anyways, a lot of these guys got put out. In Japan, I remember seeing it around 2013, I believe. It was 2012, 2013 in Japan. And then they spread to Italy, and they actually, Italy is the only other country to have the full Valhalla release. And then they actually brought it over to English-speaking countries and Australia and Singapore a little bit. And so, but the game itself at this point is very, very reminiscent of old school 1993-94 Magic, where you have some super strong cards and then a whole bunch of trash. Yeah, you have green cards and you have other colors. Actually, I have I don't know if it was intentionally done at the time the way it was, but Sprout and Kukunoichi, which have returned in modern Valhalla, Sprout is now white rest, make 3 white. The original was when it came into play, you would make the 3, and so there was no weight on it. And Kukunoichi was card disadvantage. You would discard a card to create will. But the thing was, Kukunoichi was, at the end of your turn, you draw back up to 7. And so there was essentially no drawback into Sprout, discard, play Cuckoo, and at the end of my turn, draw everything I lost. So there's a lot of broken stuff, but this is one of the most fun sets. If you ever can, I recommend it, and anyone that watches, drafting original Valhalla. And if you can get the Japanese packs where there's 3 different packs and you can do like one of each or a couple of each, it's so much fun. So
I know the boxes are hard to find in English. I think they come from Singapore or something like that.
The English boxes are very expensive and very hard to find. And actually nowadays, even Japanese stuff is really dried up. It used to be probably 2016 you could still go and you could buy boxes from the Force of Will in Akihabara. But now that shop is gone, and so a lot of that product is just gone. And so I have at my house in Japan probably 30 boxes of it are lined up because I used to go and you would win prizes that were more Valhalla boxes, and so you could just go and get that, and I loved playing, so that's what we did.
That's awesome. The sets are also, because unlike clusters that came after, because the structure now obviously is 4 sets of clusters. Sets are roughly 100, 150 rail, but they're roughly 100, 150.
Yeah.
And this set, the old Valhalla cluster only had 3 sets, and they were each, how many cards roughly?
Huge. Yeah, that's totally with promos. It was somewhere around like 750, I think. But I actually was talking with one of the Japanese players, and one of the comments they had made was in the first set. So I don't know if you know this, but in not so much the starter decks, but in the original Valhalla, like set 1, the Dawn of Valhalla, there is, when you open a box, there's uncommon rulers and then there's rare rulers.
Oh.
And so the uncommon rulers are usually about 1 box. The rare rulers are really tough to get. And there's a lot of them too. And so the thing is, the Japanese players complained back then that the rulers are too hard to get. And so they at this point, the company was really listening a lot, and it was mostly Japanese players, so the feedback was well received, and they all throughout Valhalla 1, 2, and 3, the ratios for rulers and super rares and stuff are wild all over the place. So then in 2, so box set 2, this is the kind of the one that everyone likes because it has what's it called? It has Diablos, Loki, Arwen, and a couple others, which are characters that have come back, but they're actually relatively not too bad to get. They're kind of easy to get because they kind of went overboard. So then for the set 3, again, they pulled way back, and like getting Odin or some of the set 3 rulers is sometimes a pain in the butt. So it was just funny watching the dynamic going back and forth. And unlike modern sets, the colors aren't balanced as far as what's in them too. There are more of certain colors than other colors in the original Valhalla sets.
Oh, okay.
Like I actually, at my house in Japan, I have a binder that is play sets of the entirety of Valhalla cluster, the original one. And like, I was just kind of chuckling to myself. I'm like, there's not enough of white cards in set 2. And so you just kind of realize, like, oh, okay. So, but yeah, that's the thing, it's fun. There's all these anomalies, and there's cards that are, break, which I don't know if you...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I actually played 2 of these decks last Saturday at Casual Dragon. I played the green one, my opponent played blue, I got clobbered.
It's like, for anyone that doesn't know, break was essentially at certain checkpoints of life, so 4,000, 3,000, 2,000, 1,000, and after that you're dead. But so for those 4 checkpoints, you would play or be able to play that card and, well, not play, you would flip it over. If it had a break effect, you would do that effect. If it doesn't have a break effect, it just goes to the graveyard. But the thing is, some cards interacted specifically with the break zone. And there were actually some combo decks that used that to set up your break and then play it. But the thing was, from my understanding, at least of the time and what I've played with, it's instant speed when you can interact with this break zone. And so you can get resonators that come into play, and so it adds a random element to the game, and a little bit like Pokemon prizes that come into play right away, and there's all kinds of fun effects. So I like it, but I understand going away from it in terms of moving towards a Western market where RNG is not necessarily appreciated as much outside of like Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Yeah, what else can I answer your riddles?
Let's see here. Well, yeah, you're talking about break, and I know blues had quite a few cards. My opponent was playing that.
Yeah.
There were some weird, interesting cards. You already mentioned the life break thing.
Yeah.
So what was it like, the design? I know you mentioned there was originally a group of designers that did the first starter decks, which are, I think these are another one.
Yeah.
The other ones. What was it like for the design team that came in after when they did this? Anything else regarding that?
So the design team that did these is, at least the head designer, the lead designer, is still working at the company, and he's an ex-Magic player and a pro Magic player, and he has a very specific kind of imagination of like how the game should be to some degree. He really, really likes green. Some like
that explains
that explains so much. And I asked him actually when I started working at the company, and I asked everyone in the company, "What's your favorite card?" And it was AG loves Astema and Zero and a lot of the Six Sages and whatnot, and some of the original characters. The designer, his favorite cards were Gretel, Kukunomichi, Sprout. And I was like, I think I know the cards you like. Like, I get it. I see it. He also, like, Regalia and all that stuff kind of going into that direction. And, like, the idea was just, they were never trying to be as balanced as, say, Magic is in modern day. And I think that's something important to remember, is they wanted to do their own thing and be crazy and wild. And I think Valhalla has a bit of that. And there is some swingy stuff, and the game is slower, and that's what, like, there's a lot of resource generation, but a lot of the costs for threats are really high. And so, like, of course you have, like, Chronos and some cards that are just incredibly strong. But the general kind of thing is that the cards, and this is similar to old Magic, where your threats are expensive and not that threatening, but you have a lot of resource generation to get to them quickly, so it costs cards to get there. But the thing is, when the game ages, the threats kind of fall out of favor, but the threat generation from the resource management and the resource generation gets ridiculous, because now you're creating tons of resources, but the threats are these new age, like, oh dear God kind of things. Just a perfect example, I think, is you know the 5 treasuries card in Grim?
Yeah, 5 challenges.
Yeah. And so, and you're familiar with the new Odin card?
I believe so,
The one that blows up stones and whatnot, and you can discard your hand to...
Yeah, I have to just read the card again.
So he discards your hand as long as you discard at least one card to recover. But the thing is, there's no once per turn clause on it. And so you could set your challenges to draw a card, then pitch your hand, attack, recover, and normally you attack once more and that's it. But, and this isn't even going that far back, but you can now play challenges, draw one more card, and now you can activate Odin's effect again to discard your hand, recover, and swing again. So, hey, Wanderer, there's an OTK for you. But anyway, so yeah, there's a lot of things, and that's kind of what's interesting to me is when you make new cards. One of my favorite things is to incorporate old cards into their design and make it more interesting. And I think that's what old Valhalla, now we don't use it because of card availability, and I had tried to remedy that with my solution, and so be it, whatever happens. But I think there's so much great artwork and stuff in Valhalla, the original, that it's a shame that people don't get a chance to play with it more. And even if the power level is low, there's a lot of really fun effects. And I think if anyone's coming in from, or that remembers Grimm and Alice, there's a lot of unique effects that Force of Will is the only game that could do it. They use the standby, they use different interactions that only Force of Will could do. Nowadays, and I think in Dorea, we had some interactions that were unique with the sealed abilities and whatnot. Lapis was very kind of, this is a card game, discard a card, draw a card kind of thing. But I think that's what's really cool is that, like, especially Valhalla, they played with all the effects of the game. Like, destroy everything, put your rulers into play, judgment them. Yeah. And if you can't, destroy your ruler. And we talked about briefly earlier, like, what do you mean destroy your ruler? You can't do that. Yeah. You're like, put it in the graveyard? My ruler? So, but I love that. I love exploring design space. And actually, that's what, not to harp back again, but one of the things, I think there's still so much design space if they ever wanted to. And that's exactly, we went back to Valhalla. And, oops. my hope was that we would flesh out more of this, and it had its own feeling. And New Valhalla was great, and I loved it. But and I love the characters coming back. But I also wanted to mechanically return to some degree and explore some of that as well.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of fun.
So that segues nicely to the next thing I was going to ask is, you mentioned your podcast you did. You mentioned that you actually made a redesigned Valhalla set, sort of taken this old cluster and putting it into modern Force of Will.
Correct. So the idea was, and so this comes out late enough, so V4 is all spoiled and woohoo, have fun and good stuff. But my hope was that actually it wouldn't just be V4. There was going to be a V4, V5, and V6.
Oh.
And so it would be
continuation.
All of that. And
okay.
The story actually would go in a little bit different direction as well. And actually you can see it in some of the flavor text that we were writing still when I was working there, that we were starting to push a certain way. And so I won't say which cards, but there are some cards that reference things that may not come to be because of that switch, but you'll see little bits and pieces. Anyways, the idea was that some of this artwork is great. The gameplay itself is super fun. But like we talked about, the costs, a lot of these are too expensive, or the stats are way too low for modern day. And I had done a ton of polls and stuff at what do people want to see? What effects do you like? I know people talked about Remnant, Incarnation, Standby, etc. And so I brought a lot of that stuff back and put it in milling. People always talked about self-milling, opponent milling, going more into not just stealth, but standby with unique triggers and whatnot. And I loved the idea. My hope was that each set, or not even each set, each color in each set would have a specific theme with rulers in the set for that theme. Because again, another big issue is rulers not being around. And so the hope was that maybe we could have a ruler booster pack or something in the boxes. And maybe you get one of the new Valhalla rulers, but then one of the ones for the X4, X5, X6 in there as well. And so I think I remember, if you recall, there's in New Valhalla currently there is Knights of the Round Table, but they're machines. But in original Valhalla there's Knights of the Round Table as humans. And so the story is that they were mechanized. And so in going back and showing some of the old characters, and we would reuse some of the art, but we would improve them to now be more playable. And so whether it be there was old versions of Drain on there and whatnot, but their stat lines were a 3 cost for a 3/8 kind of thing. It was we don't play that nowadays. It's you got to be at least a 6/8 to even be considered. And so that's the thing, is there was so much good design space, and the effects were interesting, and there was tons of break cards. And so I thought, okay, well, we could rework break into the game a little bit. And not to plug myself here, but just so I ended up creating my own game based off of a lot of what I had designed for V4, V5, V6. And a lot of that was based on not just the artwork, but what is a fun gameplay experience? I know a lot of people for example, Soul Sisters and Magic, where you gain lots of life, or these, and we've talked briefly about interesting ways to not only play, but to just experience the game, because I'm an avid believer of the user experience is super important. Of course, Spikes want to win, but Johnny and Timmy want to do, and everybody wants to play and have fun and enjoy it. And so I'm a firm believer that if you had fun playing, even if you lose, it's okay. You want to play again. And so I disagree sometimes with this idea, these game-ending combos that take 5 minutes, because you're kind of sitting there and I'm dead. All right, cool, that's good. Whereas if we're playing and we're both going it together, if I beat you but it's close, it's a much more satisfying game. There's never a strong blowout. And so trying to incorporate that into game design and trying to balance it out so that you do have things like that is, in my opinion at least, a great experience. Now, I understand there isn't large audience as well, that as long as they're doing cool stuff on their side of the table, I don't care what you're doing. I'm having a good time. But again, kind of going with the idea of bringing people together, we want you to both to enjoy yourselves. So I love the design of these old Valhallas, especially even the starter decks are fun, but just the weirdness. I think that to me is fun. Like I would always say I'm 10% Spike, 90% Johnny. I love like decks with a million cogs, and of course I want to win, and I'll always kind of figure out what's the best way to do what I'm trying to do, but I think that's a great place to be for a card game, and so I wanted to make cards that were allowing people to do that. I don't particularly think it's interesting to have this card's incredibly broken and strong, and either you have to play with these cards and nothing else, or this card's incredibly broken and strong and it goes in every single deck, and like Levitine or other things that I banned in Wanderer, but that kind of stuff that like we played a couple games today with like Vingolf 2 stuff.
Yeah.
It would be better with Levitine. As would every deck ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's no deck.
This deck sucks. We had Levitine!
Hey, look, it's good now. And so, while that can be fun too, if there was more limits on it, the fact that it's almost like Black Lotus. There's a joke that every deck is better with Black Lotus. There is no such thing as a deck that's worse because of Black Lotus.
Or Moxes.
Yeah, it's just like you couldn't think of a way to make it worse. And so I think that's the kind of thing, I don't like that kind of card. Some people do. Some people love it and they want their deck to be filled with just that. But I think for me, especially as I said, I'm Johnny, you want to be able to kind of write your signature into your deck. Whether it be like a weird choice of a card or something to kind of, this is my version.
Yeah.
But you still want to win, of course.
Yeah.
So it's just, and I think original Valhalla did such a great job of that there was a lot of resources to be made, but the kind of how you chose to finish was your own thing. I don't know if you're familiar, but there's actually what I call the deer combo in original Valhalla, where you get these 3 deer, and then you get the 4th deer, which then, if you have the other ones, allows you to rest it and destroy everything your opponent controls. It's like, oh. And like, I think that's one of the only forms of J-Ruler destruction in original Valhalla. And it's a nice place. Like, one thing for game design is that restriction breeds creativity. And if you have generically strong cards, there's no need to do anything else. If I have, and like, okay, here's my Blade of Faith. Everyone complained, I know, about Blade of Faith in V2. I know, it's a strong card. So, Blade of Faith is, if you're familiar with it, it's Brunhild's Master Rune. If you're not playing Brunhild, it's 1 white, 3 of anything. If you're playing Brunhild, it's 1 white. And it's remove target resonator from the game. And it's quite strong. Yeah. But it is a chant speed. It is not in quick cast. And so it is very good. It fits the flavor of Brunhild and kind of removing things in White's kind of style. And it is not quick cast though. So it is not a combat trick to remove blockers or something else. Now, if it was quick cast, then yes, it would be broken and I would deal with it. Yeah. But as it stands, you need to use it before you decide to attack, or like the timing. People underestimate sometimes. Timing is very important in a card game. Your thoughts and opinions on the board state can change dramatically based on one attack or one resonator existing or not existing. And so being limited in when I can do something like that changes the speed of the game. In original Valhalla, one of the only true removal spells is I think it's called Vampiric Kiss, or I can't remember the English name, but it's black 1, quick cast, destroy a non-white resonator. Or light, excuse me. But the thing is, white is unfortunately very weak in Valhalla, and that was remedied to some degree, but that was the thing, is white resonators were safe from one of the only removal spells in the format. And so things like that I think are good. That you want to have downsides, even to your good cards. Or if they're good cards, you balance them with a cost. so that you don't have stuff we talked about before, outerworldly dreams and stuff. It's like one cost counter anything. Huh?
Yeah.
Or one cost with Remnant and deal 500 damage. What? So you're not playing any cards. But, so let's talk about for a second. So something like Outerworldly Dreams. It costs 1 and it counters any card. So what that does to the game, and if you, I don't know, you didn't play back then, but so the combination was Outerworldly Dreams and Severing Winds. Severing Winds was the second card that was played or more was free to cast this card, and it was a counterspell. But because of that interaction, no threat that anyone wanted to play could cost more than 1 or 2. Because if I can counter whatever you're going to do, whether it's kill it or counter it, for 1 or 2, you can't justify spending more resources than I'm going to spend to kill it. Unless you're getting some value immediately out of it.
Yeah.
If I pay 1 cost and it comes in, it draws a card, I don't care if you kill it, I got a card out of it. But if I pay a 3 cost or something, and you can counter it for 1, I'm so far behind not only in resources, but now like card advantage as well I'm losing out on. You're spending 1 card to answer anything of mine, and maybe my card was a threat to you in this particular stance, or if it's not a threat to you, okay, play it. I don't care. Kind of thing. And so I think it's really important that threats and answers have very detailed costs, and I think original Valhalla did a nice job of that. There's not an abundance of either, and yes, like you have a little bit more creature interaction, and as we've talked about, I love that. So I think it's a great, I love original Valhalla, and that kind of, I whispered in the ear after Rhea that this was the direction, and I was, when they said we're going back to Valhalla, I was like, yes, this is awesome. And I mean, it changed a lot from the original designs in New Valhalla, but it still, like, I come back to this, I have some Valhalla only decks that I'll play, or like Valhalla Grim, or just even kind of casual decks that I'll put together, and I think it's so much fun. So yeah, absolutely love these to death.
One last question I have, this is a smaller one, forgot to ask this before. I know there's an ability that was only used in this that hasn't been since, called Explode.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, the Megamine ability.
Yes.
It's basically, correct for everyone, 1 Resonator with Explode damages another, they both die after combat.
Not even combat.
Just instantaneously.
Yes, so when they become blocked, they explode. And so it's one of the kind of famous combos is Usha, the samurai. I think you have the fire deck?
Yep,
right here. So Usha, the fire.
Oh yeah, I see it on the back there, yeah.
So, decks are falling. Professional quality recording.
Yeah.
The Usha, the deck was essentially, he gives all 2 cost or less swiftness. And, kind of like swiftness. They can attack the turn they come into play. It's not swiftness, because swiftness means you can activate abilities as well. So it's slightly different. Anyways, they can come in and they can attack. He can also discard a card to give a creature explode. And so what you can do in that deck is you often play stuff like the Necromancy. The card, it's an addition that if it's in the graveyard and a creature comes into play, it comes back onto that creature. And so you could pitch all of these cards that have graveyard effects to the explode trigger, block it, cool, I dare you. And so whatever,
come at me, bro.
You put the biggest 1-drops you can in there, and then if they block it, cool, they blocked it. Whatever they blocked with is dead. If they didn't block it, they take the damage. Then you play, so in Valhalla there's a 2-cost reanimation spell. And so you could, like I said, Kukunoichi, you could throw a Kukunoichi into the graveyard, bring it back, and then, you have 1 card left in your hand? Now you have 7! And the thing is, all your cheap guys have swiftness. So, you know what? You play your 1-drop, all of those necromancies come back onto it, so you're now 1-drop 10/10, comes out, you swing, if they block it, it explodes, they go to the graveyard, you play another 1-drop, and all the necromancies come out again. And so there's just so much fun stuff you can do. And Usha was one of the better rulers back then, but Liz lets you look at the top, and oh my god, the rulers of Valhalla, not just the starter decks, but all of Valhalla, to me are some of the most fun things in the game. And even, like, there are very strong ones, like Loki in Garmheld is very famous, paid life to do judgment and all these things. Like, the new perfect Loki's eons better than the old one. But just, it was fair, it was balanced, it was fun, it was just, oh man, I love it to death. So, if anyone ever has a chance, absolutely pick these up, play them against each other. If you don't change them too much, they're actually pretty good against each other, and the artwork is beautiful. They're absolutely recommend.
Yes.
The best.
Anything else you want to add?
Not really for now. If you do enjoy the original Valhalla style and kind of wonky deck zones and everything, I am, and AG's working, and we're working.
30 minutes.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
Sorry, folks. Video stops after 30 minutes. My bad. So
It's all good. So just to finish up there, last thing is, so AG and I are working on, so My Will Studios will have something coming out very soon for you guys if it's not already up by the time this video's out. In addition, I'm also working on a personal project, a game called Tenshoku, which in Japanese just means kind of heavenly calling or heavenly duty. And I've always wanted to do a lot of these designs, and so the first draft of that set will be coming out hopefully this fall.
pre-order, shop and take my money.
Thank you. And so if you are interested in something like that, just message me, get a hold of me. It's just really for friends and people who enjoy card games. That I have no plans on selling or anything big scale, but if people like card games, it works with Force of Will, it works with by itself, and I hope people will enjoy it. So if you liked anything about what I've done in the past for Force of Will, if you like what we're doing at G&I in the future, let me know, and I hope you'll enjoy playing with old Valhalla as well. So thank you very much, guys.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff. Appreciate the interview.
Thank you very much.
This is Justin from Force of Zero signing out, reminding everyone to keep calm and play Force of Will. Hey everyone, Justin here from Force of Zero. I'm here.
That's bit.
Oh my god. Okay.